Welcome, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs. I'm the founder and CEO of Coud Architects, and I'm here to answer any type of questions you might have on your cloud architect career. Maybe you desire a career as a cloud architect or a solutions architect or an enterprise architect. Maybe you're looking to build a networking career. Whatever it is in your technology career, we're here for you to guide you and help you. So the reason I come here a couple times per week is I want to give people the opportunity to build their best technology career. Welcome, Tom. It's so nice to see you. You have a great name there, Tom. Um, so I know what it was like when I started working in technology about 25 years ago. I didn't know where to begin. I took certification after certification. I spent almost $20,000 on certifications over in the course of 2 months to become Cisco certified and Microsoft certified. And that wasn't really what I needed to do to get hired. It did help me in some way, shape, or forms, but only after I learned things beyond that. So that's why we do what we do. We're really here to give you kinds of opportunities. Sandy, welcome back. I saw you this morning. Sandy, you had some questions. I did answer them ultimately in the end, but I don't know if you were there. So if you're here again, we're thrilled to have you here. MHG, we're really happy to have you here. Love anything with a peace symbol in it. That just looks so nice and sweet. So really, really happy to hear. But like I said, we are here really to talk about cloud computing careers. And it's a question and answer time to do anything that you need. This morning, we had a really fun how to get your first cloud architect job webinar. And we have that. You can see it on YouTube if you want to get the replay and you can catch that. I will tell you, we are running a Black Friday discount. My team has run that where we're actually running 35% off of all courses. It's something we almost never do. My team set it up for me, and I'm really excited about it. It's an opportunity for people to really get the opportunity to build their best cloud computing career. So I'm here to answer your questions. What kind of questions do you have for me? What kind of questions do you have about building your career? Do you desire to know what to learn, what to study, what employers desire? Tell me how I can help you. If you've got questions about your resume, bring them. If you've got questions about cloud architect presentation, bring them. If you've got questions about developing executive presence, bring them. If you've got questions about how to do a cloud architect job interview, bring them. Anything to build that cloud architect or solutions architect career is realistically speaking what we're looking for. So I'll wait to hear if you guys have some questions. And that's why we're here, to answer any questions you may have. Sandy, we actually did get to your second question this morning, but you had left, so let's do this. Is it easier to get hired as a cloud architect before specializing as a security architect? You know, I typically have my students do both. And here's what I mean by that, Sandy. So I generally, when it comes to being new, when it comes to getting that first cloud architect job, you've got to stand out and be better. When you are new, typically speaking, Sandy, you're not going to have as much experience. And because you're not going to have as much experience, we're going to have to make you stand out. So we make you stand out in two ways. At least this is our recommendation. Version one that we make you stand out is we make sure that you focus on the leadership, the communication, the executive presence, the CXO relevancy. That is part of our secret weapon to getting people hired. Now that makes a big, big, big difference. The other thing that we like to do is we like to build some specialization competency. So I've been an architect for decades. And being an architect, there's a generic architect that focuses on anything. And, it takes a long time to learn a lot about a lot of things, or you can focus on one thing like networking or security. So I have a lot of my students go through my program. And when they're going through my program, Sandy, they're becoming CISSP certified and the certified solution architect professional. So we're building actually a cloud specialty portfolio. So we're building deep cloud knowledge because we're teaching the cloud, which is really the network and the data center. We're teaching the servers, the virtualization. We're teaching all the firewalls, all the IDS, IPS systems, the storage, and literally speaking, all of this. So realistically speaking, that's what we're focusing on because they're the big, big, big elements of the technical piece. It's networking, it's data center. So Sandy, what I do is I typically have my students do both. And that way, somebody completes my program, 4 to 6 months later, they have a huge security background and they have a cloud background, which means they know the cloud, they know the network and the data center. So that's what I do. I do it all simultaneously because we've got to get you some way to stand out from the crowd when it's your first thing. So if you're a CCNP and Cisco certified and you actually know networking, not just certified, then it is a big, big, big benefit to your career. So that's why we do what we do. We're very, very cautious about building the right portfolio. And when it's your first job, Sandy, you may actually need to focus. You may need to focus on being special, and that security background might be the thing that you would do it. So I recommend that you do both. I know that we definitely do when we're dealing with our students, and that's the reason we do that. So it's easier to get hired as something when you've got more background. So if you know more about security, it'll make it easier to get hired as a cloud architect. But you know what? It might also get you a cloud security architect role too, which is a better role and it's a more specialty role. MHG. You're preparing for an AWS architect exam. You don't have a degree. How does that affect you? Well, MHG, it will affect you, but not that much. And what I mean by this, MHG, is there are some employers, probably 15% of them, that won't hire an architect without a degree. There are about 85% of them that really don't care at all because they know that what we're taught in school is almost irrelevant to what we actually do in our jobs. So, it is beneficial to have the degree. Now, MHG, I'm going to caution you, this is not just a technical job, not even close to a technical job. It's a half technical, half leadership job. Now, I'm going to say this, MHG, you can get away with not having a college degree, but you cannot get away with less than stellar presentation skills. You're going to have to be an expert presenter, and you're going to have expert business knowledge because you're going to have to be able to interact with that client, ask that client about their business, figure out about their business challenges, their goals, and you're going to have to recommend solutions or new workflows or new processes to improve that business performance. So you're going to have to know about business. Now, you can learn business acumen. We teach it to our students, but you've got to learn that MHG. So it's not going to be enough to just focus on the tech. Do you need the degree? No, not at all. MHG, my first degree is in nursing. My bachelor's is in nursing. My master's is in nursing. I'm a nurse practitioner. I practiced internal medicine for a long time. My other master's degree is in business. None of them are in tech. It doesn't matter. No one cares. What matters is your communication skills, your depth of knowledge, your emotional intelligence, your executive presence, your leadership skills, your knowledge of business acumen, your knowledge of being CXO relevant. What is different for the CEO versus the CFO versus the CTO? You get that, 85% of the world won't care about your degree, and you will have an incredible, incredible, incredible career. And I strongly, strongly, strongly recommend it. You may have a wonderful career. Don't let the degree hold you back. There's plenty of other great things you can do without it, including being a great cloud architect. Alexandra Prescott. Hey, Mike, do you have any tips for how to communicate presence, gravitas in a virtual interview? Absolutely. It's a great question. So, Alexandra Prescott, object storage is a type of storage area network that takes data and breaks it down into objects. Each object has metadata about the object. But given that you have that object which has the metadata, okay, so what happened? I just told you right now one thing. Now, by comparison, if you ask me the same question about object storage is a type of storage area network technology. Now, object storage is really unique because it takes data and it breaks it down into objects. And each object has metadata or data about the data. So when we're dealing with this, you can see and feel the difference. So how do you project gravitas? Well, it's about using space. Hello, how are you today? How are you? So it's a combination of be using space, using gestures with your hands, making a point, pausing, making your next point, pausing, etc., etc., etc. So when it really comes down to it, really, really, really comes down to it, it's your ability to communicate. Now, so here's why I spoke fast versus speaking slow, because I want to get it across. When you are an engineer, we all get used to speaking fast. And the reason is the account managers, the executives, the management team, what they have to say is so important. They're going to take 2/3 of the time, and we only have a little bit of time to get our point across. So what we do as engineers is we often speak quickly. Now, an executive knows that what they have to say is so important that they're not in a rush. So the gravitas is about your space, your gestures, you're making a point. Today, we're going to talk about cloud architect careers, The cloud architect career is an exceptional career because it promotes high growth potential, high salaries, as well as upward mobility. Note, I made a point. I varied my vocal tone. I went to the next point. I varied my vocal tone. I went to my next point. I varied my vocal tone. I went to the next point. I changed. You got to break up the flow. So the low gravitas voice is, somebody sitting in the same position. Maybe their body's tight. Maybe their arms in front of their body versus splayed and open. Realistically speaking, this is what we're talking about with regards to gravitas. It's the variation in vocal tones. It's the use of space. It's posture. To some degree, it's clothing as well, or at least the clothing we choose. It's our facial expressions. It's our body language. It goes into everything. So, Alexandra Prescott, let me give you a secret of communications. When we communicate, this is where the research from Harvard University says 55% of our message is what we look like when we say something. And 38% of the message is what we sound like when we say something. And 7% of the message is the content. So we're actually dealing with 93%, Alexandra Prescott, of our content is actually not the words we're saying. So these are your levers. This is where you play with the gravitas. This is where you play with the executive presence. This is where you show that hiring manager that you're capable of being in charge and taking care of the customers and being seen and designing something that will solve your customer's problem. So Alexandra, please feel free to ask more questions on executive presence. I've spent a fortune learning executive presence. I've been teaching it to people forever. And it almost makes a difference almost overnight in someone's career. It's fantastic to see what it can do. Chris, if you want to bring in the next question. The Coding Nomad, what a cool name. How long does it take to become a cloud architect, network, solution, realistically? You've done your AWS practitioner, and what programs of mine would I recommend you join? The Coding Nomad, I have one program for someone like you, and it is the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. In my experience, which is a long time because I've been working with people for about 20 years, helping them get their first tech job, to go from scratch to a cloud architect or a solution architect for someone that's never worked in tech, it typically takes about 8 months of hard work. I have students that do it every day. They get hired every day as their first cloud architect job, and it's never a problem. It typically takes 6 to 8 months for students that don't have experience. Now, the Coding Nomad, when I've got someone with a networking or a data center or a software background or something like that, I'm typically dealing with 16 weeks. And, I based my program initially on 16 weeks for the person that maybe worked help desk or the person that maybe was a software engineer or what have you. And the reality is they did well, but you know who does just as well, if not better? The people that are not from the tech career world, like me. I'm a medical professional, and you know what? I deal with medical professionals every day, and they do great in their tech careers, and here's the reason why. The thinking, the process is pretty much the same. So, for example, when I was practicing medicine, what do? Start with the patient. I ask the patient what brings them in today. What's bothering you? Their throat, their back. I examine the patient's systems. I make a diagnosis and a treatment plan. Do you know what I do as an architect? I go to the customer. What brings you in today? Effectively, other than I say, what are your business goals instead of what's bothering you? That's no different. And then I asked that same business, could you tell me some challenges you have, some pain points, some legal challenges you have, so that we can do things to help you. And then after we deal with that, what do? We come up with a solution or an architecture, and we present it back to the customer and we sell it. It's kind of the same thing. So the Coding Nomad, I'll tell you that in my experience, we're typically dealing with about 16 weeks for people that have a tech background to get hired as a cloud architect or a solutions architect. And we're also typically talking about 8 months for a person with no tech background. Now, a network architect is different. You have that specified in there. The network architect is a lot harder to become than a cloud architect. I became a network architect in 6 months. Now, I will tell you, to become a network architect, I did read about 75,000 pages of material, where we're only dealing with about 5,000 or 10,000 pages of total reading to be a really good, competent cloud architect. The reason that is the Coding Nomad is the cloud is very, very, very simple. Everything on the cloud is really easy. The cloud provider has all the network engineers and all the network architects, and they're managing all the complexity. So the Coding Nomad on the cloud, it's silly easy compared to doing it the hard way. So the reason we teach our students the hard way, we teach them the original way, the network and the data center way. How do you build the LAMP stack the hard way? How do you build the cloud from scratch? Because every cloud architect should build a cloud. All my students do. If you've never built a cloud or designed a cloud, how do you know the cloud? Well, you can't just go to AWS Management Console, click a few things, and think you're going to learn the cloud. That teaches you how to configure the cloud. You, as a cloud architect, you should be able to build a cloud. You should be able to build AWS from scratch. Every one of my students does. And with 8 months, whether experience, whether they come from tech or non-tech, within 8 months, my students could all build Amazon or Google or Azure on their own. They know how to build a cloud, and they've all built a cloud. So the coding nomad, 8 months for someone, 6 to 8 months for someone without a tech background. We'd love to work with you. Chris, if you want to bring in the next question. And please, by all means, everyone, answer your questions. The whole reason we're here is to help you with your cloud architect career, solutions architect career, enterprise architect career, or any of these architecture careers. T&E event planning. What an exceptionally good question. What's the difference between a cloud architect and a solution architect? Well, in theory, there's none, but in reality, there is some. So T&T event planning, the solution architect is probably the worst term for architects in the entire world. And the reason I say this is if you go to the carpet store, they have solution architects. If you go to the cell phone store, they have solution architects. I've actually been to a sub shop that had a solution architect. What is a solution architect technically? A solution architect is really someone that sells one company's product. That's it. So it's a completely meaningless term. Now, solution architect T&T event planning in tech has actually taken on an actual meaning. So T&T event planning, a solution architect is someone that only knows one vendor solution. So if you only know Azure, you're a solution architect. If you only know AWS, you're a solution architect. Now, T&T event planning, I'm going to tell you, the solution arch career I don't recommend, and here's the reason why. A year ago, 29% of customers were on a single cloud. As of now, 97% of all customers that are on a single cloud, 97% of all customers are all on more than one cloud. So a cloud architect is someone that can design a solution across multiple clouds. So the cloud architect is a solution architect that knows more than just AWS. They know AWS, they know Azure, they know Google, they know OpenStack, they know Tanux, and the cloud architect can work on any provider. So a cloud architect is easily a solution architect. And our cloud architect training program, half of our students take solution architect jobs because for some reason, if someone's got less experience, sometimes their first job is to go to AWS as a solution architect. Sometimes, for example, the bigger roles, the distinguished architect, these cloud architect roles, sometimes, they have to go to like an Azure first, or they go to a small MSP first as a solution architect. So solution architect, build a solution on AWS. Cloud architect, build a solution that has the data center, the AWS cloud, the Google cloud, the Azure cloud, and everywhere in between. So T&T event planning, I always recommend cloud architect because a cloud architect can work as a solution architect. Every one of my students can go from Azure today to AWS tomorrow, and it doesn't matter. They don't care. And the reason they don't care is they know what a virtual machine is. And whether it's a virtual machine on AWS called an EC2 instance, a virtual machine on Azure called a virtual machine, or something from Compute Engine on Google, it's still a virtual machine, and they use it identically the same way. So T&T event planning, a cloud architect works on any cloud. A solution architect only knows a single vendor solution. A single vendor and a single vendor solution, like just on AWS or just on Azure, is a single point of failure. So it's not a great idea to ever design your customer on a single cloud. You stick your customer on a single cloud, like Google Cloud. Last week, Google Cloud had an outage. Google Cloud is a great cloud. They've got the best network engineers in the world and some of the best architects. Things happen. So half in Azure, half in AWS, half in Google, half in AWS. I don't care. Single cloud, single point of failure. So design what's best for your customers. And that makes you a cloud architect, not a solution architect. So know how to work on everyone, know how to solve your customer problems. That is a cloud architect. A solution architect can't work as a cloud architect without special training, but the cloud architect can be a solution architect any day of the week. Any day of the week. Sandy, wouldn't enterprise architects be in more demand than security architects? Definitely not. Would you recommend CCNP Enterprise? I do like the CCNP Enterprise, Sandy, but I also like the CCNP Data Center because the cloud is basically just a data center that's been virtualized, so it's actually a little better. See, here's the thing. Every organization is going to have a funnel. And what it's going to look like is at the top, you're going to have less people. And as you get down, you're going to get more people. So the enterprise architect is an extreme executive. They're director level at a big company like at a Cisco, which means like they're a senior vice president level at a normal company. So when you're dealing with an enterprise architect, you're dealing with a very highly paid individual. And I got to tell you, the enterprise architecture role is great. I held it for many, many years. I loved it. It's my favorite because I get to play more at the business level, which is where I'm happiest. But, once you get to the top, you got one CEO, one CTO, one CFO, one CIO, et cetera, et cetera. Then you might have 10 VPs or 3 SVPs. And then maybe you have 10 VPs. And then maybe you have 40 directors. And, in that level of 40 directors or above, it's going to be your enterprise architect. And then when we get, one level down to manager, senior manager, that's going to be where your security architects are going to be. You're going to have a lot more managers than directors in a company, and you're going to have more construction workers than building architects. So no, the closer you get to the leadership, the less positions there are, Sandy. So you're going to have much more job opportunities as a cloud architect than an enterprise architect. Now you'll earn a lot more as an enterprise architect, and it'll be a much more relaxing job. And I think you'll absolutely, absolutely, absolutely love it. I've been every kind of architect. I've been a solution architect. I've been a technical solution architect, and they're very different. I've been a cloud architect. I've been an enterprise architect. I've been a business architect too. And I love every one of these architecture positions. Every one of them, they're fantastic. Here's the key. Here's what people don't get. People think architecture roles are technical jobs. They are not. They are transformation jobs. Organizations hire things like a digital transformation specialist. A digital transformation specialist starts with the executives, figures out what's going on in the company, and figures out how to use technology to make that company more efficient. What do you think an enterprise architect does? What do you think a cloud architect does? It's the same job. What's different is the level of executive presence, emotional intelligence, gravitas. As we move up towards the executive levels, we become less technical and more leadership. As we move down in the technical levels, we have less business and we get much, much, much more deep technically. So realistically speaking, the key is, and you can do anything and you will be successful in anything you do. And I love hearing it. It's just to make sure you've got the right one. But no, Sandy, it works this way. More construction workers than CEOs, more cloud engineers than more architects, more cloud architects than enterprise architects, and less business architects than enterprise architects. So kind of like a pyramid. And if you want to know more about that, I'd love talking about it. I love talking about architecture roles. I've held almost all of them, and they are the best things in the world. We're in an organization that enterprise and security folks with the executive hierarchy. The security architect's going to be in a real weird spot, Sandy, because they're going to be in that limbo place in between the engineers and the executives. And it's going to be a really odd spot where you're like senior manager, director level, but you may not have any direct reports. So it's going to be a bit of an odd place. So the security architects are going to be more in the technical team, and the enterprise architects are going to be considered a regular executive, just like any other executive in the organization. So very big difference between the two. Now, having said that, Sandy, what you actually do in these roles is up to you. I was a technical solution architect, and I was doing enterprise architecture work. In fact, at one point, I was a systems engineer, and I was doing sales account manager work. I closed $1 billion deal as a systems engineer because the account manager didn't show up on a meeting. And I was happy to go anyway. So it didn't matter to me. So, in these roles, there's what we're supposed to actually do, and then there's what we actually do. So I will tell you, the more leadership capabilities you have, the more people like being around you, which is your emotional intelligence, the more likable you are, the better your communication skills, gravitas, executive presence. That's it. It's all that. You know it, Sandy. When someone walks in the room and you know they're the manager when they haven't said a word, that's the presence. You need that skill. So think about it this way. When I go deal with a customer and I've got a $200 billion technology solution, I'm going to talk to that CEO about their $200 million technology solution. He or she's got to take me seriously. If I don't have the executive presence, they don't take me seriously. If I don't have the executive communication skills, they don't take me seriously. If I don't have enough business acumen to ask about their business, they're not going to take me seriously. And if I don't know enough about their financial statements, their income, their expenses, their competitors, they're not going to take me seriously. Note, not a single piece that I've talked about was technical yet. It's all business. I still need to have the complete technical knowledge of all aspects of the network and the data center and the cloud, because all of what we do as architects is we take stuff from the network and the data center and we put it in the cloud, which is nothing more than another network and a data center that's been virtualized. So we've got to know all this. It's just so critical to us, Sandy. So Sandy, I want to make sure we give you what you need. So, and that's realistically speaking, what you're going to need to do to get there. So Sandy, if you've got more questions, please feel free to ask them. And then Chris, if you want to bring in the next question, but ask some questions. If you're having some good time, hit the like button, subscribe, tell some friends. No instructions. How much weight does a degree hold when impressing hiring managers? No instructions, very little. So no instructions, your certifications impress hiring managers very little, and your degrees impress hiring managers very little. I'll tell you what does impress hiring managers though, no instructions. Number one, technical competency. Hiring managers love people that are technically competent. Number two, no instructions. Hiring managers love people they can trust. And I got to tell you, 99% of all job interview candidates ruin that on a job interview by bluffing on something or lying. So what does an employer want? Someone that can do the job and then someone that can be trusted. Now, the next thing that employers do care about is the ability to be safe, to know what you know and to know what you don't know, and to find answers to things that you don't know very quickly. Why is this? And it's always been so important, no instructions. It's always been so important for the following reason. If you don't know your limitations, you will make mistakes. Mistakes can cause bankruptcies. A few weeks ago, Facebook had a BGP configuration mistake because somebody didn't understand BGP well enough. And they made a mistake and it cost Facebook $8 billion. So companies don't mind paying you an extra $50,000 to do a good job. But I'm going to tell you this, they can't have someone that can destroy a business or go through $8 billion through a simple configuration mistake. So far, what do we talk about? Someone that can do the job, someone that can be trusted, as well as someone that knows their limitations and is safe. Next things, no instructions that employers care about is energy and enthusiasm. So these things kind of help as well. Energy, enthusiasm. What else do employers like? People that bring out the best in others, emotionally intelligent people. What else is the employer looking for? Someone that's willing to go above and beyond, and someone that's a great team player. That's what employers care about. Do they care about your degrees? No. Now, I will say that about 15% of organizations do, but the remaining don't. I will tell you that I don't care. When I look at someone's degrees, it's like, yeah, okay. So what? When I look at someone's certifications, if they have too many of them, I won't even interview them because I know that a jack of all trades is a master of none. So people send me, somebody said, I'd like to talk to you about a job. They had 10 AWS certifications. I said, there's no point in talking. I said, you've studied everything. I need a specialist. And they said, but I know everything about everything. And I said, you can't know everything about everything. I said, it takes 10,000 hours to master one thing, minimum 10,000 hours. I said, and if you don't have that 10,000 hours in that one thing, you don't even know what you don't know. So having a degree doesn't matter, but having depth matters. Now, no instructions. I will give you some other things that do matter. And I wish it didn't, but it's true. So statistically speaking, tall people get hired more frequently than short people. So you're not going to change your height, but don't hunch forward. Stand straight up. Makes you look taller. People that are a little bigger have a little more gravitas. So you know what? Straight up, shoulders back, gestures. So no instructions. Don't worry so much about the degree. Worry about being great. Worry about being competent. Worry about being capable. There's no university that actually teaches cloud architecture. And even those master's programs and those other programs, we take their graduates all the time and teach them what it takes to get hired. Because even in these programs, they're not teaching anything. So realistically speaking, that's what we're talking about. So become absolutely great, become good at what you do, focus on your business acumen, your communication skills, your executive presence, your gravitas. go get yourself hired. We could help you, and I'd love to do so, and you would be great. Or you can do it on your own, and I'm happy to answer any questions and guide you along the way. In either case, you're going to be great, but don't let the degree stop you. Go out there and become the best, and you'll be great. No instructions. You scheduled your AWS practitioner exam for a month from now. Should you cancel it and go for the associate? Well, no instructions. Let me tell you this. I recommend everybody skip the AWS Cloud Practitioner exam. As a rule, I recommend people skip it for this reason. There are 0 jobs that are available with the Cloud Practitioner exam. I mean 0. And there's no point because you can't get hired with it. So here's the thing, no instructions. The average person spends 2 months preparing for an AWS certified solution or for an AWS Cloud Practitioner. So what I mean by that is the average person spends 2 months. If the average architect earns $600 a day and a good cloud architect earns $1,200 a day, at $600 a day for the average cloud architect, if it takes you 2 months to study for this cloud practitioner, it's going to cost you $24,000 of lost earnings. Now, by comparison, if you start with the Solution Architect Associate, when you finish that certification, there's still no jobs. But just the point is it gets you one step closer to the Certified Solution Architect Professional, which is where people seem to take you seriously. So no instructions. I'm going to give you 2 options. I give the same 2 options to my students. Option 1, you schedule the practitioner exam for a month from now. That means you already paid for it. If you already paid for that exam, you can go take that exam. You can go take that exam, crush it, and pass it. And if you do that, because you already paid for it, you're going to get a 50% off coupon for the next certification. Skip the Certified Solution Architect Associate and go straight for the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. Going from the Certified Solution Architect Associate to a Certified Solution Architect Professional is easy. And going from the Cloud Practitioner to the Certified Solution Architect Professional is about the same as going from the Certified Solution Architect Associate to the Professional. So it's fine if you take your Cloud Practitioner. Understand that even with the Associate, you're not going to get a job. And you need the Professional at minimum. And then no instructions. I'll tell you those other things that are beyond the certification. So I would say go straight to the Professional. If you do the Cloud Practitioner, go straight to the Professional, and you'll be in great shape in either case. Now, remember, it's those other skills that get you hired. The knowledge of the network, the knowledge of the data center, the knowledge of design, all those things. So focus on that, and you will have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful career. No instructions. So if you've already paid for it and you want to finish it, go straight to the Professional. If you hadn't started it, I would have told you to skip it. No instructions. One thing I will strongly, strongly, strongly caution you. There's some certification providers that are giving the most dangerous career advice I've ever seen in my life. They're telling someone, if you want to become an architect, learn DevOps and learn SysOps and learn all these things. Do not learn to code if you want to be an architect. Do not learn Python. Do not learn SysOps and do not learn DevOps. It's somebody else's career. And people don't hire a doctor that went to school to be a dog walker for 10 years. They hire a doctor that went to medical school. And here's the way the flow works. No instructions. Me as the cloud architect, I design it. I take my design. After the customer says, yes, I'll buy it, I hand that design to the cloud engineer who goes and builds it. When that cloud engineer is done building it, they hand it to the maintenance people, which are the SysOps people. And somewhere along the line, we're automating software release cycles. We're doing all kinds of cool, great stuff. We are having a great time. Life is good, 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 good. But we don't build. We are not hands-on people as architects. So no instructions, build the right skills, and you'll get hired every time. So that's why we do these things. So go straight to the Professional if you're going to take this exam. It doesn't matter. Just don't waste your time on a bunch of them. Do not stop past go. Pass your Practitioner, go straight to the Professional. And if you didn't pay for the Practitioner, do the Associate and straight to the Professional. You're going to be great in any case, in either case. S.A. Hador, you're an industrial designer working in architecture and construction. Good. You manage an interior design projects. You want to change your career tech. Which position could suit your profile? Well, see, you could do a lot of these things, and a lot of these jobs would suit your profile. You know, I'm going to answer this in 2 ways. When people ask me what career should I do, my answer is going to always emphatically be, what do you desire to do? It always will be. Because whether you're a medical professional like me that wants to go to tech, you can do it. Or if you're doing fitness, or if you're an interior decorator and you want to do something else, go do it. You can do whatever you want, and I promise you, you can have the best career in the world. So go do it. But here's the thing. Interior design is a lot like architecture. And the reason interior design and architecture is so much like architecture is we go and we ask the client, what do you want? We also not only tell the client what we want, whether you're an industrial designer in architecture and construction, or whether it's in designing interior environments, because it's hard to tell because it looks like you've done both. We're going to ask the client their vision. What do you desire? They may not know, so we're going to make recommendations of things that we've seen in the industry. In architectural design, we might work with a construction plant. You might look at other factories and what's worked for them, an example. If you're designing a bank, you might look at what other banks have done and what and how and where and why. So the architecture world of what you're doing is really no different than the architecture world of what I'm doing on the cloud. It's really identical. It's just the only difference is here. So the way the building architect would say, you know, the building's going to be 2,000 meters tall, and because they're 2,000 meters tall and the winds are going to be 100 kilometers an hour, therefore the building's going to sway X number of degrees. Therefore, we need a steel of a certain temp, glass of a certain strength, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then from there, you design it. Maybe a structural engineer says, yes, it's going to work. And then a construction crew goes and builds it. So SAHR, what we do as the cloud architect is the same job. We're that industrial designer. We're going to that industrial customer of ours, and we're asking that industrial customer of ours, what are you trying to achieve? What are your pain points? What are your goals? No different than if you're going to design a building. No different than if you were going to design a special kitchen for a fancy restaurant. No different than if you're going to design a factory. We're going to go back. I'm going to go look through my expertise and experience for things that have worked for other customers. You're going to do the same thing in your current role. So realistically speaking, the cloud architect job, SAHR, is identical to the job you're doing. It's the only thing that really difference is what you're using the technologies. So whether it's concrete, brick, steel, or glass, or routers, switches, servers, virtual machines, and containers, it's really the same job. So it so doesn't matter. It so doesn't matter in any way, shape, or form what we're actually talking about. And that's why these career transitions are really great, because many of us have been cloud architects for years, long before we ever worked on the cloud. I know I sure was. I was an architect for decades. When I practiced medicine, I was doing architecture work. What is it? It was health architecture work. Someone comes in, I ask them their chief complaint. I evaluate their systems. I make a diagnosis and a plan. I'm an architect today. I go meet with the customer. What's your problem? Chief complaint. I evaluate the customer system, same way I'd evaluate a patient. I make an assessment with a patient. I make an assessment or a theory with the architecture work. And the only thing that's different is a doctor, I write a prescription. A nurse practitioner, I write a prescription. As an architect, I design an architecture. That's the same job. So realistically speaking, the architect job, if you're going to ask me what would be the easiest for you to get into, and if you're asking what's easiest and simplest related to your current job, then definitely, it's architecture, cloud architecture work. And happy to answer more questions if you want to answer deeper questions. We love answering questions. Love it. That's why we're here. MHG, you passed your practitioner exam. Hoping to take the AWS Architect in a month. I will be honest. The presenting is really what you worry about. You're hoping to get all that with training experience. MHG, you're going to have to take a special training program for that. In our training program, we provide it. So if you want to train with us, we give you lots of experience. We have you present constantly, and we offer you feedback constantly. So, there's that. So don't worry about the presentation skills. They're teachable skills. I worry more about learning how to code if I was a cloud engineer, but we all have things that we worry about. MHG, don't worry about presentation skills. Worry about learning how to do them. You know what causes people to be anxious or scared? Fear. And you know what fear comes from? It comes from lack of knowledge. People are afraid of things that they don't understand. I have a cat. My neighbor brought in a golden retriever. They're visiting from out of state. I have a friend visiting from out of state. My new cat looks at that dog and is petrified because she doesn't know what it is. 2 days later, the cat's not only chasing my neighbor's dog around, but the cat's playing with the dog, the golden retriever, and now they're friends. But she was scared of it at first. So what I would say is there was lots of things that terrified me, MHG, for example. What terrified me first was math. I don't like math, but we all have things that scare us. So don't worry about it. Go take a training program like mine or somewhere else. Mine is the only one that combines it all. So if you're with us, I think you'll be good. If you're not with us, go to a company like Speakeasy for a couple $1,000s. You can take a 3-day class. It's kind of like an intro to public speaking. I think Speakeasy calls it talk so people listen. I took it. It was one of my first introductory courses in speech many years ago, and it was exceptionally good. I'd given probably 1,000 presentations before that, but I will tell you that was really good, and I learned something, and that was before I started working my way up the leadership ranks and the executive communication ranks. But that's a good start for a lot of people. So you can obviously be in our training program. Our training program includes everything from building your plan to getting you hired, to getting you, teaching you how to negotiate a higher salary, to giving you speeches, to executive presence, how to be a cloud architect, architecture design, architect solutions, architecture presentations, etc., how to architecture documentation and writing, everything, including answering RFPs and everywhere in between. But that's what we do. So if you're with us, you'll definitely get your, and you'll be fine. And if not, get some presentation skills training. It's well worth it. I mean, it's included in our program, especially which is on sale at a 35% off Black Friday pricing. But even if you spent $5,000 for presentation skills training, if it raises your salary $50,000 to $100,000 a year every year for the rest of your life for this $5,000 of training, it's the best return on investment capital you ever spend. So get that presentation training. And whether you want to be a cloud architect, an executive, a manager, or anywhere in between, it's still going to make that much of a difference in your career. So don't worry about it so much, MHG. Either take our training or buy some, which is very low cost for what we provide, or in fact, it's less than a single day's pay for the average cloud architect. You could do ours, or you could get it somewhere else, but get that presentation skills training, and that will literally help you so much building your perfect career. Please, by all means, if you've got questions, bring them. We love answering them. We don't want anybody to do what I did in the beginning of my career, which is spend like $20,000 on certifications, only to get all the certifications to realize I wasn't ready to be hired and I needed to do something different. Now, I figured it out and built the system 20 years ago. And in the last 20 years, I've helped people get their first tech job or get promoted in tech. And you know what? Rather come here for 2-3 hours, a couple times a week, and answer your questions and see you guys save 10 years to get to your goals than not be here. So that's why I try to do it. The coding nomad. What should be the average wage expectation for a cloud architect newbie after taking your program? So I would say average starting salary is about $120,000 to $150,000 for a brand new entry-level cloud architect graduating our program, and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing about 100,000 pounds in the UK, for example, which is relatively similar. So that's what we're typically seeing for new grads. Now I got to tell you, the coding nomad, there's new architect salary and there's senior architect salary, and they are nowhere close to the same. And when it comes to salaries of being a cloud architect, we got to look at it this way. We have to look at what are the high value skills. So if you focus on exclusively technical skills, the coding nomad, your salary is going to top out around $180,000 to $200,000 a year. If you focus on being a really strong technical architect, but add the business acumen, emotional intelligence, leadership, executive presence, you will get $300,000 and $400,000 job offers every day of the week for every day of your life. I get at least 3 per day. So the point is where do you choose to build your career? You can build it on the straight tech skills side, like the people that are obsessed about getting certifications. If they get hired, and generally speaking, they don't get hired for cloud architect jobs because they don't have all this other stuff. So they can have all 10 of these certifications, but be completely unhirable because the certifications teach the name of the service and how to configure it. And we architects are system designers. So in fact, there's no relationship between what we do and these certifications. So, the key is learn how your system design, learn your business acumen, learn your executive presence, learn your emotional intelligence, learn your ROI modeling, learn to be CXO relevant, learn system design, learn how the cloud works, learn how the network works, learn how the data center works, and all those technologies that improve business performance. And wow, you'll be able to get anything that you got. So GZ, oh, so good to hear from you, GZ. Going to your first Toastmasters meeting this week. after passing your Certified Solution Architect on Friday. Very good, GZ. I'm so happy to see that. Working on finishing all the coursework by the new year. GZ, come back to class. Come to class tomorrow. I'd like to see you there. Get it all done by the end of the year. I think that is fantastic. GZ, I know you. You are super capable, super well-spoken, and I think this is absolutely perfect for you. So congratulations on this. Let's knock out that Certified Solution Architect Professional in the next month, and let's go out there and get you cloud hired. But seriously, no, GZ, you're doing great. T&E event planning. How can one become a certified cloud architect? Okay, so T&T event planning, I want to make sure the difference we talk between certified and hired. I could get you certified tomorrow if I wanted. In fact, I could take a series of 100 people off of the street that have no knowledge of technology, and I could get 80 of them AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional certified within 2 weeks. Now, I promise you at the end of those 2 weeks, 80 or more would pass the exam. Now, I also promise you this, none of them would be hireable, and none of them would know anything about cloud computing. They'd all be certified with one of the most valuable cloud computing certifications, and not a single one would know anything about cloud computing or cloud architecture. So the key T&T event planning is, what does it take to get hired versus what does it take to get certified? We get everybody hired. Our goals are much different. To get cloud architect certified, all you got to do T&T event planning is do this. You can go to any one of the exam dump websites on the internet, and there's lots of them. You can go and buy your practice test, any practice test that's got a 99% guarantee. Look at them on the internet. There's hundreds of these sites, and you can buy a copy of the exam with the answer key, and that's what 90% of people do. That's what you do. So to get cloud certified, go pass that Certified Solution Architect Associate exam, pass the Azure Expert exam. Don't pass the Google Professional Cloud Architect exam, which is my absolute favorite certification, but I'm going to tell you not to do it, because if you don't have experience, that's the last certification you're going to get. And why is it going to be the last certification you're going to get? Because only 5% of the market is Google. And when it's your first cloud architect job, we have to find two things. We have to find a manager that's willing to look past your experience and like you so much because your capabilities, your gravitas, your emotional intelligence, your attitude, your energy, and enthusiasm. And if we're dealing with an AWS cert, we're dealing with 50% of the market, which means 50% of hiring managers. If we're dealing just with Google, now we're dealing with 5% of hiring managers. So we've got about 10% less opportunities. So we recommend to get certified. That's nothing. You could get certified tomorrow by passing the Certified Solution Architect Professional exam or the Azure Expert exam. Again, you could do the Google exam, and I love the Google exam. It's the best certification in the bunch, but not if you don't have experience. If you don't have experience, save that Google one for last, because it's the one that's least likely to get you hired. Again, favorite certification. It's a great certification. In fact, it's the only certification that even includes elements of cloud architecture in it. But we need something that's good. But T&T event planning, I want to make this really clear. Certifications do not get you hired, ever. Nobody didn't get hired because they lack a certification. Now, certifications will help you get the interview. So I have my students get certified just to get the interview, but there's no part of that certification that will ever get them hired. So we have to do the certification training. It's like, okay, here's the module to get you certified, box checked. Now, here's what we're going to teach you to get hired. And here's what we're going to teach you to be good at your job. And here's what you're going to teach you to get promoted. So we actually have to run them almost separately. It's like, this stuff gets you hired. This is your paperwork. So T&T event planning, I hope I answered your question there for you. And please, if you're having fun, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell to be informed of new videos as they're released. And we've got a lot of new and free videos coming soon. Sandy, will it hurt your chances of getting hired if you currently help account execs close deals anywhere from 1 to 50,000 plus? We sell drone surveys, AI technologies. It's not going to ever hurt your experience to have experience in sales. It's always going to help you. Now, here's the thing, Sandy, there is differences in selling something small. Selling a $1,000 product and selling $1 million product are very, very different. The skills that are needed to do a $1 million, $10 million, $100 million sale, Sandy, are very different. So you're going to need the training in there in order to do these things. So it will help. the fact that you've done some sales, but it's more important to know how to do bigger sales. The kind of sales that you're in, I'm not exactly sure. Oh, wait, you sold Medicare insurance for a year and a half. So that's great, but that's, smaller scale stuff. And, when you're selling Medicare benefits, a lot of that is already paid for the government, and it's which one you're choosing for, unless it's a bolt-on add-on for Part B, Part C, Part D, that kind of thing. But generally speaking, that's, getting with people, and it's connecting with people, and there's a lot of emotional intelligence there, and it's really, really great. So again, that communication skills will be a big help for you, but it's a very different kind of sales skills. This kind of sales skills involves ROI modeling. This kind of sales skills means reading the CEO's mind. This kind of sales skills rules reading the person's body language. This kind of sales skills, realistically speaking, involves multiple series of presentations. These sales cycles can be a year or more, where, when you're dealing with consumer sales, it's a day or two, a week, maybe a month. So long sales cycles, lots and lots of trips back and forth, lots and lots of leadership, lots and lots of dinners, lots of drinks, lots of entertaining clients, lots and lots and lots of all the good stuff. So the thing is, you can do lots of things, Sandy, and I love the fact that you've got some sales background. You just need some enterprise sales and technology skills training. We provide it in our training program, and if you're with us, it's great. If not, there are sales training programs that would be beneficial to cloud architects. They're about $5,000 to $10,000 for a week, because these skills are so important. You could take ours. We're a single day's pay, and we not only teach cloud architecture, but the presentation skills, the ROI modeling, the negotiation skills, the interview skills. We teach it all. But you could take it with us, or you can learn it for someone else. But I definitely recommend learning technology sales, specifically how to sell without selling, how to do your ROI modeling, how to convince the CEO they need to spend that $1 billion on your tech. You need to have that skill. So however you get it. You're already advantaged by starting out where you're starting out, so you already have help. So fantastic. I see Brandon Bowman. Brandon, welcome and happy Monday. Hoorah, good to see you. Chris, if you want to bring in the next one. Giovanni. Mike, after security, what are priorities when it comes to start using the cloud? So what do you mean by start using the cloud? So Giovanni, if you can be a little more clear, I'd like to answer it because I'm not really sure. So what are my priorities with regards to the cloud? Well, first, high availability, meaning the systems actually work and they're available for use when you need them. 2, are they secure? And 3, will they help the organization be more profitable, meaning increase their sales, decrease their operating expenses, be more efficiently. So realistically speaking, the priorities for me are going to be different for every customer. My priorities, Giovanni, because I'm an architect, is what transforms the customer. So as architects, I don't care what tech it is. If it's this mobile phone, if it's this microphone I'm wearing, guess what? I don't really care what it is. It could be an Ethernet cable. It could be a fiber optic cable. It could be a light switch, and it could be an app on someone's phone. So for me, the priorities, because I'm an architect, Giovanni, is what solves my customers' problems. That's it. Now, when I'm solving my customers' problems, security is always a top priority. Why? Because if the systems get hacked, they don't work. Availability is always a top priority. Why? Because if the systems are down, they don't help the customer. So those two things are there. But really, 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 Giovanni, it's about the transformation. So, for example, if I've got one customer whose website goes down 10 times a day and it's costing them $300 million a year, my priority is fixing that darn website. If a customer says, I can't communicate with my customers when they need to reach me, my next thought is, what kind of a communications platform can I put in? What kind of unified communications could do what? So really, it's about knowing the customer's business. What I do for a hospital is different than what I do for a bank, which is different than what I do for a global retailer. And that knowledge of that industry, that's my business acumen. So realistically speaking, it's much, much, much more figuring out exactly what the customer needs. That's how I determine my top 3. But generally speaking, it's typically availability, it's typically security that are 2 critical things for my customers. And usually performance and scalability are in the top 3, but not always, because it's dependent upon the customer. But on average, they're the most common things that we're talking about. And of course, if you've got some more questions, please ask them. We love answering questions.
The next one's in response to what you clarified earlier.
No instructions. Yes, you were told by someone to get certified in AWS developer, SysOps, DevOps, and security. It's crazy, but it's not just that. It's not just that, no instructions. It's worse than that. So you look like a pretty big guy by your photo. I'm assuming you've done some bodybuilding. So let's work on this from that assumption, no instructions. When somebody wants to get big, they do a lot of squats, they do a lot of deadlift, they do a lot of standing overhead presses, weighted pull-ups, weighted dips. It makes them big. They eat a lot of protein, they eat some calories, their hormones are optimized, what have you, etc. They take the supplements like branched-chain amino acids and other things. They get bigger. It works, great. Now, if you take that same bodybuilder that's trying to get big, and then you make them run marathons, they're not getting big, they're getting small. And then you have them spend all day in a yoga class, and I'm a yoga instructor, and I love yoga. Again, they're getting smaller. So you've got to train for the skill you want. You don't train to be an Olympic gymnast by doing marathon running at all. So you train to be an Olympic gymnast by doing gymnastics and focusing on your mobility, speed, power, etc. I was a martial artist for about 30 years. For martial arts, I focused on mobility, speed, power, agility, not size. I focused on strength, but not size. So in every career, in everything, we need to be a specialist. So, prepare what you want. As an architect, I don't write code. But if I was a developer and I told everybody I was a developer, my brand becomes what? Am I an architect or developer? You know what happens when there's brand confusion? Their price goes down. Now, SysOps, which is maintenance. If I want to be a systems designer and then I become the maintenance person on paper, now people see me as the maintenance person, not the systems designer. My salary goes down. My employability goes down. DevOps is a form of engineering where someone automates software release cycles and automates the deployment of things. This is great. There's an industry perception of an engineer that's very engineering, and that perception is extremely different than the desire from an architect. Two great careers, very good careers, two sets of highly educated people doing different jobs. It's just what the perception is. If you and a school teacher and I send a guy for the Force Recon Marine to you or a MARSOC Marine, it's not going to look like what you're expecting. Now, this MARSOC Marine could have been the best educator in the entire world. But if you're expecting the kindergarten teacher and you're getting a MARSOC Marine or a SEAL, a Navy SEAL or an SAS Commando, in your mind, you're not getting what you're thinking. So be the brand of what you need. So get that certified solution architect professional, no instructions, you're going to do great. Doctors don't go to school to learn house cleaning and learn to be a chef and learn veterinary medicine before they learn to be a doctor. They learn to be a doctor. So guess what? Learn to be a doctor. You're going to do great. And yes, it is crazy. Focus on the career you want and you become great, great, great at it. By the way, your photo looks great. You look like you're in fantastic shape. Love to train with you someday. Chris, do you want to bring in the next question? Subi, hey, GoCloud, you got this. You've got an AWS Solution Architect exam that you're required to take to get a job. You're currently enrolled in an online class with hands-on labs. Any tips that I can offer? Well, I don't know what career you want. And the plan to get to your ultimate goal is gonna be different. So Subi, if you're taking a class for the Solution Architect and your labs and your whole class is basically the name of a service and how to configure it, there's no architecture in there, zero. So when you're done that course, if that's what you're doing, and you choose to be an architect, you're going to have to learn system design. You're going to have to learn the network. You're going to have to learn the data center. Those are the things that you're going to have to learn. Now, if you want to be a cloud engineer, Subi, then guess what? What you're doing is the right path. So go ahead and do it. Because if you want to be a cloud engineer, you're going to know the name of the service, the idiosyncrasy of the service, and then how to configure it. So you're going to be great. So first, the key is trying to figure out what job you want. Now, to pass the exam, let's face it, I've got a completely free Certified Solution Architect Associate book that you can download completely free. Chris from my team will post the link. My team is also going to release an AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional book. We have one. We've added about 200 pages of new content to it, and we're going to release it for free to the entire cloud computing community in the next couple of weeks or months or so. Content is ready. It's with the editors right now, and we're all excited about it. So go out there. It'll be really, really fantastic. So if you're looking to pass the exam, We have a completely free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate course. Chris can pop that link into the chat box. We have students that take it every day. I've gotten hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people thank me for this free course, telling me they've passed the exam. Now, guess what? When it comes to certifications, my friend Andrew Brown also has a very good certification product. Andrew Brown from Exam Pro. Andrew Brown has excellent certification materials. I focus much more on the getting people hired part, because getting people hired is very different than certification. Certification is the name of a service and how to configure it. Realistically speaking, where I'm basically about teaching people to get hired. But you can do our exam completely for our, what do you call it? I'm sorry, you can do our book completely for free, our course completely for free. I would do Andrew Brown's course again, which is completely for free. And go take that exam, Subi. You will pass it, and you will pass it with flying colors. Samir Hassan, I passed your AWS Solution Architect Associate and are looking for a job. Can I get a job without experience? Samir Hassan, you can easily get a job without experience. That's not a problem. We do it every day for our students. Every single day, Samir. Or Samar. So sorry, Samar. Samar, you can absolutely, definitely get a job without experience. Here is the key. You must be an expert system designer, which means you must know a lot about the network and the data center, and that's not covered in the Certified Solution Architect Associate. And quite frankly, it's not covered in the Certified Solution Architect Professional, but that's a minimum level of certification as a rule to get hired. So Samir Hassan, if you get those two things, then what you're going to need to do next is you're going to need to learn system design, which means you're going to have to learn about routing, switching, and network and data center technologies. I'll tell you what these technologies are. Now, you could train with us, and it's included in our program, but if you're not with us, I still want you to know. First thing you need to do, if you're not with us, these are 4 books that I'm going to recommend you reading. Internet Routing Architectures by Bassam Halabi. Sometimes he uses Sam Halabi, sometimes he uses Bassam Halabi, sometimes he uses a traditional Arabic name, sometimes his Americanized name. Then I would say read the book, Internet Routing Architectures. That book's Internet Routing Architectures. The next book, 2 books that I would say would be Routing TCP/IP, Volumes 1 and 2 by Jeff Doyle. And then I would also say read the Stevens TCP/IP book. Now, that's about $250, about 5,000 pages of reading, and that's going to give you an intro to the network. Now, after that, I would learn about NAT. And I don't mean just NAT to the internet. I mean NAT for overlapping businesses, one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, NAT overlay, static NAT, all your dynamic NATs. Then I would say learn switching, specifically VLANs, VLAN trunking protocols, VLAN tagging, Ether channel, port aggregation, link aggregation groups, all of it. Then learn .1Q tagging, Q and Q tagging, Ethernet over MPLS, QoS, and that's going to be as well as your WAN technologies and your LAN technologies. That's going to be the foundation that you need to know about the network. Then for the data center side, you're going to have to know all about server virtualization containers, block storage, object storage, firewalls, all kinds of load balancers, DNS. You're going to have to know your operating systems, your Windows, your Linux. You're going to have to know how to build the LAMP stack. You're going to have to know when to use NFS versus SMB storage. And then I would say you should have to know how to work with Active Directory. And of course, you should build the cloud, and all my students do. You get those things, Samir Hassan, match that with the Certified Solution Architect Professional. And then build your business acumen. Learn about how businesses function. Learn about how to read a financial statement. Learn about how to improve an organization's profitability. What can you do to top line revenue? What can you do to reduction of expenses? What can you do for productivity? Then you've got to learn, sales skills. Then you've got to learn your presentation skills. Then you've got to learn your executive training, emotional intelligence. You get those skills, Samar, you will get hired. And it doesn't matter whether you have experience or not. Those are architect skills. You can train with us and get them, or you can get them on your own. Just make sure you have those skills. It's not the certification. The certification doesn't get anybody hired. The certification gets you an interview. And if you go on an interview with just certification, what happens is we interview the person. Then we interview someone and say, yes, 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 yes. And we ask questions and no one gives us an answer. And then we have 2 choices. We can say, I'm sorry, someone's not competent, or we can say, come back when you have more experience. So when we interview someone, there's a euphemism that says, you need experience. The euphemism was when we interviewed someone, we didn't think they were good enough and we told them they need more experience. We don't interview people that we don't have that we don't think we can hire because we don't have time to interview people. I don't have time to waste all my day to interview people. I interview people without experience all the time. I hire people from different industries all the time. I've got my chief operating officer from the hospitality industry. Why? Because he's so good and he's so capable, and all that experience that he had was so valuable for me, better than if I just looked in tech. So I look for the best and brightest people. I don't care where they're from. I care, can they do the job? Are they emotionally intelligent? Can I trust them? Are they going to be good to my customers? Are my customers going to like them? That's what I care about. And I don't care about somebody's experience. I've hired lots and lots of people with no experience, but they were all good. I hire on attitude. I hire on enthusiasm. I hire on trust and gut feeling of that person. Someone like Brandon Bowman just popped in. He's one of my students. He's rock solid. He's from the Marine Corps. I trust him in ways that I wouldn't trust anybody. Of course, I'd hire him. So that's what I look for. I look for the ability to go out there, look at someone that can do the job, that I feel confident in, that's not going to lie to me. They're not going to bluff to me. They're going to delight my customers. They're going to have honesty, integrity, good energy, enthusiasm, passion. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I need. And that's what most hiring managers look for. I've asked thousands of them over the last 20 some years what they're looking for, and they always tell me that. Azure Tour. What is the shortest path to become a cloud architect in terms of training and certifications? You started the GCP architect certification because you were told it was great value and thoughts. So here's what, and yeah, so Brandon, I don't care where you work, I'd be thrilled to have someone like you in my company in a role. That's the key. It's the right person, not where they're from. So the shortest way Azure to become a cloud architect is to take our cloud architect career development program, because we package everything in one place. And if you've got a tech background, it's going to take you approximately 4 months. And if you don't have a tech background, it's going to take you about 8 months. So that's there. Now, the next question is regarding GCP certifications. I strongly advise you not to do one. I'm going to say this again. I strongly advise you not to do one. I love the Google Professional Cloud Architect certification. It's the only one that actually asks any architecture questions. Azure Tour, when you do not have experience, you need to find the hiring manager that's going to say, I don't care that Azure Tour doesn't have experience, because Azure Tour is awesome. They like your attitude, they like your enthusiasm, they like your communication skills. So when we're dealing with that, not every hiring manager is willing to hire based upon attitude and trained skills. 30% of them are, but 2/3 are not. 2/3 of them want you pre-trained. I'd rather get someone with a fresh background that I trust that's good and smart and ready to work. But 1/3 of the people would be like me, but 2/3 want somebody with experience. So when it's your first job, if we send you on 3 interviews with our recruiting team, one of those people will be happy to hire you without your experience easily. But it's going to take 1 out of the 3. Now, we can easily get one of our graduates. I can call one of my recruiters when they're ready, when I know they're ready, when they've got all their certifications, when they've got all their paperwork, when they've done everything. I can call my recruiter and say, I've got someone, Azure Tour, talk to Azure Tour. They've graduated my program. They're capable, they're competent. And then the recruiter will say, Mike, what's their skill? And I'm going to say they focused a lot on networking because they like the networking side of the cloud. And then one of my recruiters will go to work. They'll go find some interviews for you to and go to. Now, that's the way it works. Now, if you're AWS certified, I've got 50% of the employers that I can talk you to. If you're Azure certified, it's Microsoft. We've got 40% of the employers that I can send you to. If you're Google certified, we've got 5% of the employers we can send you to, which really, really, really is the worst thing that happens when it's your first job. Now, Azure Tour, you've got 5 years experience, 10 years experience. You can go work anywhere, anytime, and you get this Google Cloud certification. Now you've got the most valuable of the bunch. Now, because you didn't need the certification to get hired in the first place with experience, because you've got experience and that's enough. So that's exactly the key thing, is you don't even need the cert, but now you get that Google cert. And now it's like that MBA when you're already working as an executive. It's that one thing that makes you look so good. So Azure Tour, I love that Google cert. I think it's great, but it would be the last one that I would do, not the first one I would do, unless I had 20 years worth of experience. It was the first one that I did because I had plenty of experience and it's the best one. But if you don't have experience and you need people to hire you, you've got to put yourself in a position where you're most likely to get hired. And 95% of the employers is better than 5% of the employers. So put yourself in a position where you can win. And unfortunately, the Google certification is most likely not that for you. So if you've got more questions on that, or you'd like to ask why are the rationales, I'd love to discuss it with you. I want you to be successful, and I know you can be. No instructions. Why aren't other programs as transparent and resourceful as you are? You've taken other courses and they're not as complete. No instructions. I think there's, realistically speaking, two things that are going on here. One is I've actually been an architect for about 25 years. Now, I'm going to be very clear about this. I've looked up the background of most of the people, and they were never architects. They were engineers. So there's that. Now, the other side, I've done the job and they haven't. You can't really teach a course that you've never done. So I'd say there's that. And here's the other side. I've reached in my career the upper echelons of architecture early on. I was a Cisco certified internet expert. My number is 7417. And I was a CCIE within 6 months of the first time I ever saw a router. 6 months. And I was the lead architect within 6 months. So what happened here was I worked really hard. I read 1,000 pages a day, every day, for 6 months straight to be a great architect. And then you know what else I did? No instructions. I finally got my great architecture job, and I'm having fun. And I went to my manager. And when I went to my manager pulled me aside and he said, Mike, I'm so happy to see you. He said, I really want to talk to you. He said, you're not like the rest of these engineers and architects on my team. He said, there's something different about you. He said, I think it's because you used to practice medicine. He said, but the rest of my people, they're all tech. And he said, you address the customer's concerns. You ask the customer about their business. You ask the customer about what things are. He says, you like to get to the heart of the matter before you solve the problem. My manager said, half of my team's developing the solution before they even saw the customer. So I'd say there's that. So one is I don't need to work. I've been retired. I retired at 34 and then just coach people for fun. So, I can afford to be open, honest, and transparent and say, this is what we do. If you want to work with us, we'd love to get you there, and we will get you cloud hired, because our goals are different. Everybody else's goals are certification. Our goals are getting you hired. If my goal was to get you certified, I'd have a $10 program. I could get you certified before tomorrow. But my goal is getting you hired. And getting you hired is about building that perfect portfolio. It's about the leadership, the executive presence, the communication skills. I've done the jobs. I know what you need. I've never been on an interview where I didn't get hired because I've researched it for years. Not because there's anything special about me, because I've studied it. I've studied the behavioral science of an interview. I've studied the leadership. Quite frankly, I studied soft skills so much that between Cisco funding it and me funding it, I spent $250,000 on soft skill training. And I'm going to tell you itself, for any one of you that wants to spend that kind of money on soft skills training, it'll pay for itself in about a year or two by raising your salary that much. So the point is that's the reason. I'm just concerned about getting you all hired. I've had my fun. I've been a great architect. I did it in my youth. I went from an architect to a technical architect, or from an engineer to a technical architect, to a solution architect, to an enterprise architect, to a business architect. And I just love it, no instructions. And, and my retirement job, which is what I'm doing right now, I'm effectively mostly retired. I'm generating the next generation of technology leaders. At some point, I'm going to go to Jamaica and I'm going to listen to Ziggy Marley music all day long, and I'm going to practice Ashtanga yoga on the beach. But I can't do that until I raise the next generation of technology leaders. I don't need to work for work, but I want all of you to have the best careers so you guys can have the lives that I have. So that maybe 25 years from now, a lot of you guys can do relief work in different countries throughout the world like I do, and offer some services in developing nations to really help those people that need it most. So I'm doing what I do, and that's why I like it, because I want you guys all to get hired. We focus on getting cloud hired, not cloud certified. All our people get certified. Getting certified is not the challenge. We focus on getting hired. So train for a goal. If you train to play football, you train differently than if you train to play marathon running. Both are good. We play for a different sport. That's why our teams are different. That's why our structures are different. And that's why our people get hired, because we train to get hired. And then we've got lots of recruiters and lots of interview tactics and lots of behavioral science. We study everything. That's the reason we're very different. Greg Price, passed your Cloud Practitioner 3 weeks ago. Good. You're taking the Architect next month. Good. Your question is, will the Cloud Architect experience on your site be something you should do once you pass? I don't recommend it, Greg. I recommend the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. So I got to tell you this. I actually took the Cloud Architect Experience program off of the store. It's still purchasable, and I left it purchasable for a few reasons. The Cloud Architect Experience program is an exceptionally good technical program, Greg. It's a very good technical program. So if somebody was working as a network architect already, and they have all these architecture things, but maybe they worked on the network and they only worked on BGP, but they had all the business acumen, they had all the leadership skills, the executive presence, the communication skills, the emotional intelligence, the gravitas, all of that. Then my very inexpensive Cloud Architect Experience program that just teaches them cloud is the absolute perfect program. Absolute perfect program. It's a bridge program. Hey, you're an architect, become a cloud architect. And it's great. But what that program does not do, Greg, is the Cloud Architect Career Development Program has live training where we teach architecture twice per week. This course doesn't have that. The Cloud Architect Career Development Program focuses on the soft skills, the emotional intelligence, the leadership skills, the executive presence, the ROI modeling, and it's not in the experience program. So realistically speaking, I don't want you to take a course that's not going to give you all the skills. So if you've already been an architect, then sure, it's the best program and it will get you everything that you need. But if you're not already an architect, it's not going to be good enough. It's just more technical training, and technical training is not enough to get you hired. Architects must be equally non-technical, if not more non-technical than technical. And Greg Price, I got to tell you, with my students that are really technical, when I go through the resumes, I untechnical them. I get rid of half of the scripting languages. I get rid of half of their coding. I get rid of all the technical weeds and depth and weeds in their resumes, and I swap the technical out with transform this organization, increase this organization's uptime by XYZ%, decreased an organization's expenses by XYZ%, helped an organization increase sales by XYZ% by whatever, and then the people get hired. So what I'm saying is, I really, really strongly would recommend the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. Normally, it's a much more expensive program. There's 35% off of it now. You could order our program and start it 2 months from now. We don't really limit out the time in the program. But I will say this, I really need you to get those business communication skills. So if you did my experience program, you could do it. And then you could go to a speakeasy talk so people listen. And then you could go do a leadership thing here. And then you could do a sales thing here and a sales thing here. But it's so much cheaper to do our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. That's why I actually took it down off of our store. It's still available on our website because there are some people I really want to use that program for because it's such a good program. But I don't want to sell it to you if you've not been an architect before. The Career Development Program is the right way. I don't want anybody buying anything that's not going to get them cloud hired or cloud promoted. Sandy, are security architects still involved in a lot of sales deals every day? So what'll happen is, Sandy, when the cloud architect and the sales rep, account manager, have a project that's got a lot of solution, that's got a lot of it, they bring their cloud security architect to the call. So the cloud security architect might be supporting 4 or 5 or 10 different cloud architects throughout the organization to help them. So the answer is yes, you're going to be doing the same kind of sales calls. So you still need those same skills. Absolutely. The coding nomad. How much money is one expected to set aside for the career development programs? Well, the coding nomad, everything is included in our program, except for if you have to take somebody else's test. The labs are all done on our servers, so there's no books to buy. So the only thing that somebody should ever set aside is whatever the cost for the AWS certification exam is. So what do I mean by that? Best way I can describe it is I think the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional is $300. So that's the one thing that you're going to need. Other than that, there should be no additional expenses that you need other than maybe a practice exam to prepare for the Certified Solution Architect Professional. Other than that, everything else is covered. There's nothing you need to buy. We include everything at one low price because we're trying to be a one-stop shop. My people don't need to go to 4 things and buy $40 and buy anything. It's all included in one place. And Chris, if you want to bring in the next one. MHG. This is a very good question. Is the Tech Interview Mastery Program part of the Career Development Program? Is this vendor specific? Okay, so there's 2 sides of it. MHG, we are never, ever vendor specific. Once we go vendor specific, somebody's career potential goes down because the reality is only 3% of organizations use a single cloud. So I can't teach people to be effective on AWS and not know anything. So all of my students know how to work on the AWS cloud, the Oracle cloud, the Google cloud, and the Azure cloud. Every one of them learns that. Now, I recommend my people get certified with the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, and we provide the training for that too. But, that's what we're really looking for. Now, the Interview Mastery Program, 80% of our Interview Mastery Program, or I should say 70%, is actually included free into the Career Development Program. But there's 30% that is not. And see, here's the difference. When we made our Interview Mastery Program, there's 2 sets of content. There's my content, which is ported to the class, and there's the content from IT Excel. So when we made our Interview Mastery Program, and I recommend everybody get it, and when my students are there, I always give my students 50% off of it because I want to make it as cheap as possible for them, which basically means I'm giving it away from my end. And the reason I can't give all of it to that program is we worked with IT Excel, which is one of New York's best recruiting firms. One that I've worked with for almost 20 years now. They've gotten me 2 of my 5 jobs. They've gotten more of my students hired than I can imagine. And there's 20 recruiters there, and they've been around for 20 years. So the CEO of that company and I did it together, but there's also the input of recruiters. There's 400 years of executive interviewing experience that went into that Tech Interview Mastery Program. 400 years. So I can't give all of that to my students free because it's not my content. The 70% of the content is free that I give to my students completely free, and I moved it to the Career Development Program. But that other 30%, which is really special, I can't. So we give our students that are in the Career Development Program 50% off on that program should they desire to be part of that program. Highly, highly recommend the program. Great program. I've been doing a lot of interview coaching forever. Typically speaking, I've always charged $300 to $500 an hour based upon the kind of interview coaching I was doing. And people would do it all the time with me. They would say, I did 3 interviews with you. I paid $1,200 and I got a $50,000 raise. It's well worth it. And, it was worth it for them. And I do it all the time and I still do. But here's the thing. Not everybody has that kind of money. So I really thought hard. I went to the drawing board. I went to my chief operating officer. I went to the best recruiters and I said, how could we come up with the best course to get everybody hired at the lowest cost? So there's no barrier to entry to anyone getting an elite career. And that's the Tech Interview Mastery Program. And I'm really, really, really excited about it. And I strongly, strongly, strongly recommend it. So now that you asked, now you know 70% of it's included for free. And the other 30%, I basically do it half off for my students. Otherwise, full price for everyone else. Although right now we have a 35% Black Friday discount, which I'm seeing on the screen. My marketing team has set up. So before we get to any more questions, please ask whatever questions you have. We love answering them. Anything we can do to speed up your cloud architect, enterprise architect, solution architect career, business architect career, let us know. We're here for you. We want to help you. So please, please, please to do these things. Ask any questions you have. No instructions. Do I see blockchain and cloud architect going together in the future? I don't know. So no instructions. I have a lot of experience with blockchain. And I do a lot of blockchain consulting to people because it's something that I've got a lot of background with. Now, blockchain and cloud are kind of opposites. So if we think about what is blockchain, no instructions. Blockchain is basically a distributed ledger. The whole point of the distributed ledger would be this. So if we look, for example, at a traditional fiat currency, like the US dollar or the Great British Pound, what happens is I go deposit that dollar into the bank. The bank adds it to their ledger. It then is on their computer systems. And when I want to pull a dollar out of the bank, they take that dollar out of my account. They pull it from my account, and then the balance sheet changes. So, there's that. So that ledger of who has the money and where the money is in every one of those transactions is inside of the bank's data center or the bank's cloud, what have you. Now, the theory and the premise behind the blockchain of Ethereum, or the blockchain between Bitcoin or Dash, which is X11 of an algorithm, when you start looking at these kinds of things, now everything changes a little bit. The point of blockchain is a distributed ledger. It's getting it out of the bank's data center and sitting in everybody's cryptocurrency miners along the blockchain everywhere. So it's a distributed log. So now we think blockchain, distributed, cloud, centralized, all somewhere else. So blockchain no instructions is kind of the exact opposite of cloud. Cloud is bringing everything to some single place, and blockchain is sending it there. So the question is, do we do blockchain in the cloud? Now, there's two kinds of blockchains. The traditional blockchain, which is decentralized, which is where it's all going. And then some of the banks have tried to make a centralized blockchain, and they did that with one of the crypto coins, where basically all the banks did it. And that crypto coin hasn't done very well at all compared to anything. So I do see a lot of potential for blockchain, but blockchain and cloud are almost opposites. So I see some things going together in the future, but I would pick one. If you want to do blockchain, build a blockchain career. You want to do a cloud career, but I wouldn't be trying to mix them. I don't think it's in your best interest just yet. 10 years from now, who knows? But for right now, no. I'd focus on the bigger things, more business transformation, more security, more industry relevance, big stuff, big stuff. But it's a great question. Asha, what's the difference between a cloud infrastructure architect and a generic cloud architect? Very simple. Asha, a cloud infrastructure architect like me, focuses on the routing. They focus on the infrastructure, the network piece. Cloud architect focuses on the end-to-end, everything along the way. So generic would be looking at the load balancers, would be looking at the servers, would be looking at the container strategy, would be looking at the firewall strategy, the IDS, IPS strategy, the storage strategy, all of it. Cloud infrastructure architect, BGP, cloud infrastructure architect, VPC, cloud infrastructure architect, transit gateway, cloud infrastructure architect, software-defined networking. So completely different set of focus. Infrastructure is all on the infrastructure, which is the network. So being an infrastructure architect is an extremely good place. Extremely good place. So love it. So I focus on cloud infrastructure because I'm happier there. Cloud is also there. There's still a focus on the networking. It's just a matter of where you focus. A cloud architect is it's kind of a generalist, but not an extreme generalist. See, as an architect, I need to know business with a lot of knowledge to be effective. I need to be an expert on communications, leadership, presentations. That's really my tool bag. Now, from there, that's really my tool bag, is that, my tech skills, that's my tools to use. But my skills, my professional skills, are the leadership piece. The tech piece is there. So as an architect, if you have to know about web applications, and you have to know about networking, and you have to know about security, and you have to know about data center, you kind of have to know it all. So these are big roles, Asha. So cloud architect, generic, more of everything end to end. Cloud infrastructure, just focusing on the networking. So hope I answered your question there. Please feel free to ask a subsequent question. Sandy, would we ever recommend someone get Microsoft certification, Azure Solutions Architect Expert? It seems like Azure is bigger. So Sandy, like I said, there's two certifications that are what we recommend as an intro certification: the Azure Expert or the AWS Solution Architect Professional. We're right now approximately 3 to 5% better. More that we prefer the AWS one, but we're getting, we're kind of wondering that right now. I've got a team where we're already developing Azure training because we feel it's very important. So what I would say is, I think Azure is going to be coming a lot. I see Azure growing. I see Azure doing a lot of things right. So Azure's got Microsoft behind them. Microsoft is extremely good on the business side. AWS is extremely good on the technology side. Azure is just as the tech is just as good, but they're very good business people. And Microsoft and Cisco and IBM, these bigger tech companies, they're around. And the reason they make money and the reason they don't go anywhere is they are very good on the business side. They're among the best in the world at helping organizations optimize their business through technology. So Azure, yeah, definitely. It's one of the two places where we're doing things. And yes, we are actually making Azure training because I actually like it, because I think the Azure is a really good place. So we are still sticking by our recommendation right now with the Google Professional Cloud Architect. For my students that have an Azure expert, I'm not asking them to do any additional certifications whatsoever, because it's enough. I'm focusing more on them, on their business acumen, leadership skills, because I get a lot of people that come to me passing the Certified Solution Architect Professional or doing these 2-year master's degrees where they're not being taught cloud architecture. So we teach them cloud architecture. So sure, the Azure Solutions Architect Expert is fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. So we do like it. And I see Azure taking more and more market share. SGA Tour, do we offer one-to-one calls? It depends what you mean by one-to-one calls. If you've got a 10-minute quick question about our program, Chris from my team, or I'll do it right now, will pop in our phone call, and you can ask us a simple question about our program. So the answer is that. Now, we do have the ability for people to register for one-to-one calls off of our website. And we have lots of students do it for private interviews, for career coaching sessions. Happily, 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 Chris from my team can pop the link to a one-to-one call. Now, having said that, right now there's a 35% coupon on all Black Friday on everything because it's Black Friday. Students in the Cloud Architect Career Development Program get to ask questions live in classes twice per week. And they have a Slack channel to ask questions in between classes. So SGA Tour, the way we do this is we have 2 3-hour live sessions per week. And my students come to class and they ask questions, because you can't just give somebody videos and expect them to learn. It's not good enough. We're not just trying to get somebody certified. We get people hired. So because of that, here's what we do. We go out there. We have live classes twice per week. People come from all around the world. We do architecture things. We do interview practice. We do leadership. And we have a lot of fun. And it's a great experience for all. So, there's that. So that's what we do. So you can ask questions then. Then we have a Slack channel. People ask questions in between classes. So you can ask questions then. And then if you actually do need to get something that's beyond a minute or two, where you really need some work, like maybe you're on an interview and you've done all of our interview training and you want to get one last practice one-to-one interview with me or the team, then we offer our students in the career development program a 66% discount off of any private interview coaching. And that way we can get the cost down to pretty much nothing so that our students can be extra successful. And we do a lot of it. So that, of course, we do on calls. I've done private coaching for years. I try to run it through my program because, 2 hours of my time is more expensive than the class. So what I try and do, instead of doing 2 $400 an hour calls with somebody, I'd rather have them in my class, sell them a course for $650, get them through completely the program, and then, do another $130 practice call with them. They get out of the program for $800 and they're hired and paid a lot more, but they've got a full training program and not just 2 hours of my time. So SGA Tour, we offer whatever is necessary to get our students hired, and our students get hired every single day of the week, but we have to do it in a way that makes sense. We do it in the lowest cost way we can, which is through group training where people can ask questions live via Zoom or Slack. And then also we do offer extremely discounted things for when people do need to do one-to-one calls, because sometimes somebody needs an extra help. If it's a 5-minute thing, we take care of it. But if it's beyond that, where people really need work, where they're really trying to do something special that's way outside of the scope of the program, then we do what we need to for them. Alex Richardson, what tech skills would one focus as part of the development path for a convention event and a sales manager who's transing? Okay, so let me make sure I understand the question. What tech skills would one focus on the part of the development path for a convention event? So I don't exactly know what we mean by a convention.
Convention event and sales is a job in hotels and and things like the country clubs and stuff like that.
Oh, is this the person that does the event planning and things like that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. They've been on here before.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I recognize the name. So If you're dealing with someone that's coming from a background where they're orchestrating and selling a service, and whether that be the person that's planning and selling a course, or whether you're dealing with that person who's selling a wedding, and whether and part of that wedding involves bringing people in from all over the world and coordinating bands and coordinating desserts and coordinating photographers, coordinating videographers, and coordinating a lot of those things. That's an interesting question there, Alex Richardson. So, Alex Richardson, what are we really talking about? That job itself has a whole lot of project management work, managing all the pieces and parts and all the dependencies upon people. So there's that. What else does that part work, that job? So that job itself has a lot of leadership. You've got people that work the event, internal people, external people, coordination, now that I know exactly what you're referring to. So you've got that. So when you're dealing with these environments, and you're dealing with someone that's got to sell, someone that's got to make sure stuff gets delivered, make sure that the customers are happy, making sure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera is done. Wait, isn't that the actual job of the architect? Oh, wait, it is. So now you've got a person that's designing a party, figuring out all the things that have to happen, figuring out whether you've got a clown, a band, a caricature station, whatever it is. You've got all these things going on. You got one person that designs it. How does the person design it? Alex Richardson, I can tell you, for one thing, you're going to start with the client. What do you want? Is it a wedding? Is it a bris? Is it a whatever? What is it? So there's that. And then what do you want it to look like? What do you want it to feel like? What's your goal of the event? What's the theme of the event? All that stuff. It's no different than going to a client, Alex Richardson, and saying, tell me about your hotel. Okay, in your hotel or group of hotels, let's say I went to Hilton instead, since it's a hotel industry thing. If I went to Hilton and said, how many hotels do you own? What are your goals for these hotels? Oh, wait, occupancy is less than it needs to? Okay, what can we do to increase your occupancy? Okay, what other challenges do you have? You need a better inventory control system, because whatever the case is, I'd be evaluating their business. And I don't know enough about the hospitality industry, so I would go bring a hospitality industry expert with me because I don't know enough about it. I can walk into a bank and consult for them because I've worked in banking. I can walk to a hospital and consult in them, and easily. If I was going to be in hospitality, I'd go find somebody that's got some business acumen in hospitality and ask, and I would do a lot of research. And with my business acumen, I'd be okay. So what I would say is the tech skills that someone should focus on for this are really the networking and data center skills. So it's really, BGP from a routing perspective. It's IP addressing. It's the firewalls from the security perspective. It's the VPN concentrators for the remote access. It's the IDS IPS systems if you're not using an intrusion detection, intrusion prevention system. It's the identity and access management systems, otherwise known as authentication, authorization, and accounting. It's going to be your load balancers that you need to know about, and DNS, how it works. And storage, whether it be local storage on a hard drive, block storage, object storage, file storage. You need to know these things. So, realistically speaking, these are what we're talking about. All of those wonderful skills are what you need. So whether it be NAT, whether it be VLAN switching. So realistically speaking, everything that you need to know is related to the network and the data center from the technology perspective. And normally I would say you need a lot of business acumen. Now, Alex Richardson, if you've been selling big parties, like $1 million parties, chances are you've already got some of those sales skills. So, there's that. Then there's the presentation skills. If you're going to be doing multi-million-dollar parties, chances are you're going to be doing a lot of sales, and there's going to be people that have some money, and you're going to have some gravitas because they're going to have to take you seriously. If you're selling something expensive without the gravitas, you're not going to be able to. So again, it puts you back into the same position. So I would say focus on networking and data center skills, Alex Richardson, and then the business of technology, and you should be in good shape because you've got a lot of those skills in that current job. Expected release date for potential Azure training. Sandy, you're going to have to stay on the channel. We'll notify people via email, via social media links when we're ready. No instructions. Thank you for answering all of our questions. You're the only one bringing this much value. Thank you so much. We try and do everything that we can to help the cloud computing community. It's a very important community to us. I've been part of this networking community forever. The networking community became the cloud computing community, and I absolutely love being part of it. So anything we can do to kind of boost your cloud computing careers, we are more than happy to. Ronald McRae, you just got out of an interview. You know you missed some good stuff. I hope, Ronald McRae, your interview went great. I really do, but we've got plenty. In fact, Ronald McRae, I'm going to come back tomorrow, actually, and I'm going to do it for a reason. I want to make sure that this week, as we go into the Thanksgiving week, we start thinking about our careers. I often felt that the best gift you can give somebody for Christmas is building your career. When you have a better career, you can take better care of your family. And look, our family is not around us for money. Our family is around us for love and family and unity. And these are the things that matter so much. But you know what? When we don't have to worry about where our food's coming from, where our housing's coming from, where our transportation's coming from, where our kids' education is coming from, life becomes very easy. So that's why I'm here. I want to help you all build the absolute best career in the world so you can have the best lives ever, so we can make a difference. So MHG, I'm so thankful you found our channel. I'm so thankful we're here talking to you today, and really appreciate it every last minute on anything and just you being here. So anything we can do to help you. Asha, thanks. That answered your question. In the case the key management service comes under cloud infrastructure, no, key management I would consider under security, because it's more identity and access management. Sandy, Thanksgiving, thankful. Yes, it is pretty exciting. It's going to be Thanksgiving. I wish my wife would be here. She's going to be away working at the hospital. It's going to be me and my cat, Cindy. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to be doing some content creation. Emmanuel Boson, for a non-IT professional starting our career development program, do you get help from a real person to learn about networking data center, or is it self-taught? Emmanuel Boson, I would never run a course that's self-taught. I don't think that's a way for people to learn. We have live training twice per week via Zoom, where you can ask as many questions as you need when we teach cloud computing in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. And in between, and these are live classes where we do architectural design together, because you need it. You need that real hands-on experience, and you need that guided classroom experience. So that becomes really, really, really important for you. So, you definitely need it, and it's definitely live, and we're going to be there for you. Of course, you can ask questions in class. And in between classes, we have Slack, and you'll be able to ask questions on the Slack channel in between classes. I would never, ever want to go to a course where I couldn't ask a real person. I couldn't, because I wouldn't do it. I would never offer that to someone. So no, Emmanuel, you'll come to class, we'll be talking. There's a family. I've got students all over the world participating on designs, and we have a great time. And then in between classes, you'll be doing homework, assignments, you'll be turning them in, and we'll give you feedback on them, because again, we need to know that you get cloud hired. It's not about getting you cloud certified. Anybody can get you cloud certified. It's about us getting you cloud hired, which is very, very different. And I need to talk to you. I need to be able to look at you. I need to hear how you communicate so I can guide your communication skills. And when you're ready to graduate, I need to be able to call a recruiter on your behalf. And I can't do that if I don't know you. So yes, we'll be working with you. So Chris, and I know if you want to bring in the next question. One more question. How long does the Black Friday go? Okay, I am told from my marketing team that this goes all week through the weekend. So let everybody know about our Black Friday sale. Tell everybody. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell the community. We work really hard to help the cloud architect community, and we don't advertise. So we really, at least we haven't yet. So we really look for the community that we try and help to try and help us grow. So that way we can produce more content, more free content, and share it with as many people as possible. We have another book that's coming out soon, and it's going to be a really great one, and it's going to be completely free. Pretty excited about it. So. If anybody has any more questions, we will answer them now, and I will be thrilled to answer them. Otherwise, we'll be coming back tomorrow. But let's see what questions we have. Emmanuel Bosom, does the 70% of the tech interview mastery program is included in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program? Anything that anybody would ever need on the interview side is in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. Now, the interview mastery program does have some elements that are not part of the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. I think you just got here, Emmanuel Bosom, and I had mentioned it before. So the interview mastery program is a collaboration between the wonderful and probably best recruiting firm I know, ITXL in New York City, and us. And what I did on that tech interview mastery program is as follows. I reached out to this recruiting firm that has placed me in 2 jobs and placed more of my graduates than I can think of over the last 20 years. They have 20 recruiters. Each one of those recruiters has about 20 years of experience. So the team that helped me put this together has a total of 400 years of experience recruiting people, which basically means 5 to 10 interviews a day, basically 200 days a year for 20 years straight. So we're talking about hundreds of thousands of interviews went into this. 70% of the content in the interview program is mine, and my students in the Cloud Architect Career Development Program get that completely free. But I can't give away ITXL's training materials. So students in the Cloud Architect Career Development Program get 50% off in that program anytime they desire. So, and anybody else right now can get 35% off. It's a great program. I strongly recommend it. But if I had to pick one program that would get you everything you need, it's the Cloud Architect Career Development Program, and that's got more interview things than you really need to know. It's a fantastic and a very deep program. I've got students in this class. I'm sure some of them would love to tell you, but we've got a community of really wonderful people from all over the world, and they're achieving great things every single day. So if you've got some more questions for me, I'd love to answer them. Otherwise, I'll be coming back tomorrow. I don't know what time I'm coming back. Chris, is it 2 p.m.?
Yes, it's 2 p.m.
I'll be back at 2 p.m. tomorrow unless anybody has any other questions. So I'll give you a chance to ask your questions for a minute or two. And if there's no more questions, I'll come back tomorrow. But if you've got questions, we'd love to help you. Anything we can do to boost your career. Okay, Emmanuel Boson, do we advise, popped in a new question. Do you advise I take the Tech Interview Mastery Program separately after taking this Cloud Architect Career Development Program? You know, Emmanuel, I don't know if you're ever going to need more than the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. I really don't. So what I would say, Emmanuel, is I'd recommend the Cloud Architect Career Development Program first. And if you think you need that extra 30% on the interviews, we can do it later. But I got to tell you, Emmanuel, lots and lots and lots and lots of my students get hired with that have done the career development program without the interview program. So I try to make my training as cheap as possible for my students. So what I would say is the Cloud Architect Career Development Program is going to be enough for you. Now, if you take that program and you want to do the interview program as well, we'll give you half off on the interview program. And by doing that, what we're going to do is we're going to enhance your interview capabilities a little more, which should improve your starting salary and open up more doors. But believe me, there is an extensive amount of interview training materials in that Cloud Architect Career Development Program and salary negotiations guidance as well. So there's a lot of it there. So you probably don't need it. But, you know, I make that course for people that don't have the career development program. They definitely need help. And I will never recommend people buy more than they need. It's not right. So I always try and find whatever the cheapest way that I can get my students hired, because that's what matters to me. MHG, when is the next session? It is tomorrow. So we start with a rolling admission, MHG. We do it this way for the following reasons. So we do our live architecture training, MHG, twice per week. And when we do live architecture training, it doesn't change. I mean, you don't design a cloud differently tomorrow than you do the day after that. So what we do, and the reason we do it, we're pretty specific in how we do it, is as follows. We first and foremost, like the people that have signed up today, and roughly 11 people have signed up so far today. What happens is when these people sign up, the first thing that happens is when they get an email within about 30 minutes. And the email says, welcome to Go Cloud Architects. And they start training on their own. So the people that signed up today, they'll start going to the first part of the class. They'll start doing some work. I've already seen some of the people turn in their first homework assignments. Tonight, when I'm done this thing, here's what I'll do. I'll start reading and grading the students' homework assignments. I'll give them feedback so they can become better every day. And then tomorrow at 9 a.m., all the students that signed up, they're going to be in class, and we're going to have a great class tomorrow. We're going to be designing a cloud architecture. Not only we're going to design it, part of being an architect is not only designing it, but selling it to the customer. So we'll design it. The students will present it back to me. They'll be forced to present it the way they would to a CEO. That's why we focus on our CEO relevancy, our CIO relevancy, our CTO, so CXO relevancy. And we'll be doing that tomorrow. And normally, then the students in between classes, they would go study on Wednesday, Thursday on their own. And then on Friday, they'd be rolled into the next class where we do another live class on Zoom, and everybody have a great party. And then on weekends, people go and they do their own homework on their own time, et cetera, et cetera. And that's how it works. So next session starts today. And the next class is tomorrow. And the next class after that is going to be on next Tuesday. But we have sometimes people order and then they sign up. We have people like, for example, I spoke to someone recently this morning, really nice person. He's going to be going to Africa for a month, but he wanted to sign up and get the discount and then come back in February when he gets back from Africa. And that's fine too. Raja Babu, what a neat name. We've got something that means king, and then the rest of it's even cooler. So, hi, Mike, I switched from non-IT to cloud infrastructure, worked in AWS operations without certifications, but want to be a cloud architect. What would be the path for me? Well, here would be the path for you. Learn the network. Only I don't know how much of the network you actually know, because you say you work in operations, and operations could be something. I don't know if the operations that you're in is TAC, like sysops or maintenance, or if operations is something else. But let's just, regardless of where you're coming from, we have to go from operations to architecture, which is design. So it's a very different thing. So when you're coming from operations, you're going to have to do two things. One is operations people, the perception of them is they're very, numbers oriented. They're very operationally oriented. They're typically the people that are not out in front of the customer. They're typically mathematical, analytical, and really good people to make sure things run. But they're not typically the people that like to go out and babble and give speeches in front of 1,000 people. Most of these operations roles are more on the maintenance side. So when you're coming from the maintenance side, and whether it's maintenance on systems like sysops or maintenance on computers or whatever it is, there's a perception of that, which is why I tell people not to get sysop certifications. So if we want to get you from those operations/maintenance roles into an architecture role, it's no big deal. We do it all the time. Here's what you have to do. First, you've got to switch your brand. The brand of an operations person is etc. The brand of an architect is this business leader. It's this executive, very emotionally intelligent, very presentation oriented. So we got to bump that up a lot. So first thing we're going to do that, you're going to have to change your resume. You're going to have to change in your LinkedIn profile. And you're going to have to go build in there, and you're going to have to build an architect portfolio. Architect portfolio. So the answer is that. So first, the answer is yes, build a cloud architect portfolio. So then after you do that, you're building your brand, you're having a great time. Next, what do we have to do? Now, we've got to work on some of your business acumen. So we got to teach you some business skills. In our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, we do it. But if you're not with us, make sure you learn it. Make sure you become good at ROI modeling. Make sure you get some executive presence training. If you're with us, it's covered. If you're not, make sure you get it. Get some emotional intelligence training. Get some presentation skills training. Get some executive writing training. These are those things that really matter. Then that's the really important. So that's gonna fix the brand. That's going to take you from the operations brand to more the architecture brand. Then it's the learning of the systems design. Now, if you are in a Cloud Architect Career Development Program, you'd learn systems design. If you are not, it's okay. You got to learn networking. So learn BGP, learn IBGP and eBGP, learn the interior gateway protocol, specifically minimum of OSPF, ideally intermediate systems to intermediate systems. Learn about MPLS, learn about software-defined networking. Then make sure you know about NAT, know the use cases for NAT, switching, spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, Q and Q tagging, 802.1 Q tagging, Ethernet over MPLS. Those things, they're just fundamentals. NAT, IP addressing. So make sure you know that. Then get really, really, really strong. Get really capable. Focus your time, your effort, your energies on the following. Focus on server virtualization and containers and storage, block, object, file. Get really, really detailed oriented in these. Then learn the LAMP stack. Then when you're done that, learn the network storage protocols like server message block versus NFS. And then when you're done that, learn the equivalent cloud services of what they are. Because what do we do as architects, Raja Babu? We basically take the same stuff in the network and take it to the cloud. And what is the cloud? It's no different than any other network and data center. It's just virtualized. That's it. It's just a virtualized network and a data center. So do that. Strip all the mysticism at it. And now what are you really an architect of? You're a network and a data center architect. That's why AWS has principal architects and distinguished architects that have never worked in cloud in their life. They're coming from networking because it's the same thing. We all know it. The cloud is a network and a data center that's been virtualized. So boil it down. Get your leadership skills, get your sales skills, get your executive skills. Change your brand from an operations brand to an architecture brand. Publish documents. Change your resume. Change your social media posts. Co-author things with people like me to go out there and get your name out there. And 6 months later, the world knows you as a cloud architect and you're hired. So that's really all it takes, is just getting that. It's about building the brand, building the perception of an architect, not an engineer. That's it. And that's the biggest challenge most people have. It's a branding challenge. I had one of my most recent hires. This guy really challenged me. He was so technical, and he came to me and he was technical, and he was only going to learn Google, and he was only going to learn technical. He was one of the best technical people I've ever had. And every time he got technical, I kind of like, no, I need the business side. He'd say something technical. I'd say, stop. I need the business reason. I need the business reason. He worked hard. He worked on his resume 8 times. I finally said in class, can we use your resume as an example? I stripped off 80% of the tech. Then he got AWS certified and he was hired 2 weeks later. And he did great. He did great. So the key is, it's not hard to get these jobs. We get our people cloud hired every day. But if you're an employer, you need a certain set of skills. And those skills just aren't covered in certification. And that's why we focus on those cloud hired skills, not those cloud certified skills. Go out there, Raja Babu. Go build the best cloud computing career. Go get yourself cloud hired. Just focus on the right things and you will have more options than you can imagine. There's so much room at AWS. There's so much room at Oracle. There's so much room at Dell. There's so much room at Palo Alto. There's so much room at Google. There's so much room at Azure. And guess what? There's room at Verizon. There's room at IBM. They can't even hire their cloud architects fast enough. So there's plenty of jobs. But all the businesses need them. The healthcare organizations need them, and the banks need them too. Hundreds of thousands of positions. We just can't find anybody that's capable of doing the job. So come get trained. Go get cloud hired. Chris, do you have any other questions? I think I see one from Aisha. Asha, would the Cloud Architect program help you get cloud product management roles? Yes. And here's the funny thing. I've got a lot of my students, Asha, that have left my program and have taken senior program manager roles, product roles, and a whole bunch of other good roles. And here's the reason, Asha. What are we really teaching? Leadership skills, executive communication skills, executive skills. That's needed for everything. So at that point, what's the difference between a product architect and a product and a cloud architect? Well, the product architect or the product manager starts by asking the clients, what do you want in the product? For example, when I was at Cisco, I ran a business council of chief information officers. CIOs, CEOs, CFOs, they were on this business council. They'd get together with me twice per year and they'd tell me everything they wanted. I asked my customers. So in a product role, you do that. In an architect role, you do that too. You start with the customer, Asha. What do you want? What's strategic to you? Then in both a product management role and a cloud architect role, you examine all the stuff that exists out there. Okay, so the product architect, let's say you're at Cisco. What's Juniper doing? What's this company doing? What's the newest things? And do I need to put this into my router? Guess what? In cloud. Which systems are going to help the customer operate more efficiently? It's no different. And then in product, you finally determine a list of things that you're going to build. In architecture, you list the things that you're going to build. In product, you manage the team that goes and builds it. In architecture, you lead the cloud engineering team that often builds it. So it's the same thing. So yes, Asha, this will absolutely help you get a product management role, a cloud architect role, an enterprise architect role, a solution architect role, or even move up into the management chain, because we're teaching those same skills. So yes, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Emmanuel Bosom. Is the AWS Certified Solutional ebook offered in the Career Development Program? Yes, it's completely free in the program. Absolutely. Are there any other questions for me? Give you guys a chance to answer questions for about 1 or 2 more minutes, and after that, we will be back tomorrow. But if you've got questions, we'll answer them. Otherwise, we will see you tomorrow. We love communicating with you. We love interacting with the cloud architect community, the solution architect community, really anything we can do to get you that first cloud architect job. You're more than welcome, Emmanuel. Give you guys about 1 more minute to see if there's any more questions. And if they are, we would love to answer them. And otherwise, I'll come back and see you tomorrow. Okay, well, honestly, it's been an honor and a privilege to spend all this time with you today. I'm grateful to spend time with you. Anything I can do to help you get your first cloud architect job, I am thrilled to do. So it's been wonderful spending some time with you. I will come back tomorrow at 2 p.m. And you know what? I'm going to come back on Wednesday for you too, because this is the time of year where we all still think about how we plan our future. You're going to have family members there. People are going to be talking about what they want to do. And I want all of you to be in a position that you've got a plan, whether it's to impress family members, whether it's to make your family happy, or whatever it takes. Make this the best Thanksgiving of your career. Make this the best year of your career. Go out there and get cloud hired. Anything I can do to help you, I will help you along the way. This is Michael Gibbs. I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Architects, Go Cloud Careers, and I'm honored to be with you here today. And I will see you very soon. Take care, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow in case you need me.